Well, hey everybody. My name is Joanne Peck, and this is my first video on my new YouTube channel, Ask Mama Joe. And what I want this channel to be about is healing, creating, inspiring others, and with others. And so, something I've wanted to do for a long time that I've actually always done in my day-to-day life, but it's something that I've just been led to share. And so that's what I'm doing here. So I want to start by just telling you a little bit about myself. Um, my name is Joanne Peck, and I am 62 years old. I'm the mother of six. I have 23 grandchildren, and I have a great grandbaby on the way who will be here in June. And in my life, I'll just, I'm just going to start, try and do just a little synopsis to just give you some idea of who I am and where I've come from. My parents were married in the 50s. I was their first child. Unfortunately, like many families, my parents had a lot of issues that they brought with them to the marriage. My mother was actually very mentally ill. My dad didn't know it at the time, and I never witnessed my mother with her parents. I did with her mom, but not until she was a grown woman. And my grandpa died when I was a baby, so I don't remember him. So I never, saw the interaction that my mother had with her parents. But I do think as a child, she must have had a really rough time based on what it was that she did to me. My dad was kind of along those same lines. I do know that my grandfather and my grandmother, his parents, had severe issues as well. My grandfather beat on my dad a lot. And now, I don't, please understand me. If you spank your child, that's up to you. There's a big difference between a spanking and a beating, but from stories I heard from my dad and his family members, he got beatings. And my grandmother lost her first daughter, and when she lost her, there was some. It was in a situation where I think it left her with a lot of guilt. And so she died of an ear condition called mastoids when she was just 3 years old. And that affected, I think, both my grandparents very deeply. But, when I look back, of course, I adored my grandparents. I adored my mom's mom, and I adored my dad's parents. But when I look back at them, I can see that there were indications that if I were an older or grown when I spent time with them, I was saying, I might want to watch out. There's some things here, like my grandmother had a maid, but the maid barely got to clean the house because my grandmother was always cleaning it. And my mother, she thought the whole world was out to get her and us. And my grandmother was very detached in a lot of ways. And so was my dad's dad, my grandfather, who I did know. So there were some things that were there, and things with my parents too. But the only thing I remember about me is from as far back as I can remember, and I think I can remember back to when I was 2. There was this. I had this thing, this wanting, this needing, this thing that was like inside of me, where nothing was ever enough, even when I was just really little. And it just manifested itself in me to the point where I was like 2 and 3 years old, and my mother couldn't keep me in the house, and we lived in a large apartment complex, and I was 2 and 3 and out running the streets all by myself. And I can remember reaching for that doorknob on the front and the back door to get out. Don't ask me. I mean, I know all children are curious, but with me, it wasn't curiosity. It was something much deeper. And it was something that was a real warning about what was to come in my life, too. I was always running. I was always moving. And so then my parents, both of them, And as you know, I want to preface this by saying, when they got older, I think they realized, the things that they had done. Is I'm sure all parents do. I know I'm the same way because my kids are from 28 to 45 years old, my 6 kids, and I look back now and I see all the mistakes I made. But my parents used to hit me in the head a lot, in the face and in the head, and they did it to my brothers and my sisters too. And I know that the reason they did it is because it was probably what was done to them. But it was rough. It was hard. My dad was a big man, and man, when he walloped you in the head, it hurt. And he could knock you off of benches and out of chairs doing that. And my mom, she was bad about smacking me in the face. I always want to go to the third person with that. But no, it was me. She was really, really bad about smacking me in the face. And she used to pull my hair too. So anyway, I had this I want thing inside of me all the time. And and as I got older, it just manifested itself in more ways. So, first it was like I was always running when I was a kid, and nothing was ever enough. And another thing I noticed is I couldn't follow direction. My mother would say, don't do that because, don't do that because you'll get hurt. Don't do that because you'll break it. And I just, I knew what she was saying, but I just could not stop myself. One perfect example was I was 3 years old, and the ice cream man was coming, and I wanted some ice cream. Maybe I was 4, but my mom gave me a nickel for the ice cream man. And so I went out to the swing set right behind our house, and there was a road right there where he would stop. And she told me, she said, now don't put that nickel in your mouth. And she told me that several times. But when I walked outside, there was a swing set, and the ice cream man wasn't there yet. And so I decided I wanted to swing. Well, I didn't have any pockets, and so I stuck that nickel between my teeth and started swinging. And long story short, you know what happened. It went down and got jammed in my throat, and I ended up in the hospital. I was going to have surgery to have it removed, but our surgeon figured out a way to get it out without that. But I injured myself. I mean, I hurt myself physically a lot of times because I just could not do it. What I wanted to do was always a stronger pull than what people were trying to direct me to do. And so, and usually that stronger pull was the wrong thing. But that's the way my life started manifesting itself. So, what I ended up with was irresponsibility, dishonesty, an inability to bond, and it just got worse and worse as I got older. And because of it, there were so many things that happened in my life that caused great harm to me and to other people. And one of the things was I ended up with a lifelong food addiction and eating disorder. And I hurt a lot of people in my life. But then what ended up happening was I got help. And I was searching for help all the time. I think I really started looking for help when I was like 21 or 22. And that's probably when I had my first major anxiety attack. And I didn't know what it was. I thought I was dying. I know a lot of you can identify with that. But I had just had my third child, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I could swear I could hear somebody in my bedroom calling my name. And the only thing that I could identify that voice with was the devil. And I remember I hopped out of my bed in my nightgown, and I went running, knocking on people's doors I didn't even know because I was sure I was going to die. And I didn't want my kids to be alone. But that's when I started looking for help. And eventually I found help. I was almost at death's door when I finally found it. But I found it. And so that's why I'm here. That's why I created this YouTube channel. This is what I've been moving towards all my life. And what I want this channel to be is a chance for me to heal myself and continue my road on recovery and becoming a better person. But I want to use that to help other people. And we won't always agree. And this is not a forum for anything other than hope and healing and understanding. But we all have something in common, I think, as human beings. We have a lot in common as human beings. But one thing I've noticed is that we're all looking to be the best person we can possibly be. We're all lost in some way many times, and we're trying to find our way back. And many of us are hurting. And in that pain, we're looking for someone to comfort us. So that's what I'm hoping this YouTube channel will be. I'm brand new at this, so be patient. You would have died laughing at me if you'd seen me. It took me 2 hours just to change my channel art on my YouTube channel. So I'm learning. You're never too old to learn, that's for sure. But I'm hoping you will join me on this journey, and you will give me feedback and let me know if I did anything that might help you through your day. I love to pray. I am a Christian. I love everybody. And, I understand that everybody has a different higher power, and in many cases, and that's okay too. But I think that it's very important that we all understand that there is something out there bigger than we are, because I think, well, at least for me, that's where my healing started, is when I finally heard God's voice. So, welcome. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment. You can actually message me, send me an email at Dosyeann1, that's DOSEYANN, the number 1, at yahoo.com. And as I get better at this, hopefully I'll have some things set up where it's easier to communicate one-on-one. So thank you so much. We've been here 12 minutes, and I don't want to bore you, but I have so much I want to share with you about my life and tell you how it feeds into where I got to where I am today. We'll talk about love. We'll talk about hate. We'll talk about grief. We'll talk about addictions. I'm trying to get this thing to focus. There we go. We'll talk about addictions. We'll talk about relationships. We'll talk about resentments and anger and a little bit of everything. So welcome again. And I hope y'all have a beautiful evening. And thank you so much again for being here. Bye-bye.